Hi, I'm David Worrell, your DIY CFO and your PPP expert. Hey, today I want to laser focus on the PPP Safe Harbors. Safe Harbors are so important because they make your PPP Forgiveness Application easier, they make it faster, and they make it more likely that you're not going to have any penalties, right? If you have to fill out the long form and Schedule A and Tables 1 and Table 2 and Table 3, man, you're lining up for a lot of work and you're looking at potential penalties. These safe harbors get you completely around it. They're built into the system, and almost everybody is going to qualify for at least one if you read them carefully and understand them. So let's dive in. On the very first page, the instructions say, are you a sole proprietor? If you are a sole proprietor with no employees, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go directly to the EZ form and fill out, it's so simple, I just got to tell you, the loan amount goes on lines 1, 5, 6, and 8 for a sole proprietor. That's all you need to know. Just memorize that. If you're a sole proprietor with no other employees, go to the EZ form and write your loan amount on lines 1, 5, 6, and 8, and you're done. Okay. For the rest of us who are not sole proprietors and we do have employees, the real question is, did you cut anyone's wage rate by 25% or more? So this is not their total earnings. This is their wage rate. If they're a salaried person or an hourly person, did you cut that salary or that hourly rate by 25% or more because you were having a hard time with the recession or with COVID? If you did, you have a potential wage penalty. If you did not, you then have to answer the next question. Were you closed by COVID because of CDC directives? In other words, did social distancing or some other CDC directive make you have to close? If you were a school or an after-school care or a restaurant, obviously the CDC and OSHA and state and local and whatever regulations shut you down for a while, right? Even if you are a manufacturer and you're making non-essential goods and you had people standing 2 feet apart on the assembly line, perhaps that was enough to shut you down or lead you to not operate at the same level of operations as before COVID. Okay, so that's safe harbor number 2 is, were you closed by COVID because of following CDC directives or state and local laws? If you can answer yes, go directly to the EZ form. If you answer no, then the only thing that's left to you is to answer the final question. Did you lay off anyone since January 1st? Did you reduce anyone's hours since January 1st? So in effect, do you have fewer FTEs now or during your covered period than you did on January 1st? If you can answer no to that, if you kept everyone employed, then you can also go directly to the EZ form. And all you got to do is summarize your total gross wages, retirement, and healthcare costs, and probably you're going to be over the PPP amount and therefore qualify for full forgiveness. Okay, those are the easy safe harbors that are part of the application process at the very beginning. If you were still have to fill out the long form, so if you answered that yes, you cut someone's wages by 25% or more, or yes, you had to lay people off at any time since January 1st, then you'll probably go to the long form and you'll be looking at this going, oh man, I don't want to do all this work. That's all right, because as soon as you complete Schedule A and Table 1, you have a couple more options. Number 1, did you cut anyone's pay rate by more than 25%? If not, keep right on going. You don't have to worry about anything else. If you did, then there's a calculation that you have to do for the wage penalty. But if nobody's pay was cut by at least 25% or more, then you don't have to even complete this whole thing. So keep going. And the next step says pick a base period to compare your FTEs to, and then, oops, over here, now that you have a base period, and there's a few options for you in there that I won't go into, but you can pick a base period, and now, compared to that base period, have you reduced the number of employees or their paid hours between between the base period and the end of your covered period, or January 1st and the end of your covered period. If you have reduced the number of employees or reduced their paid number of hours, you still have a couple of other options here. Question number 2, did you bring them back by the filing date of your form? So by the date that you're actually submitting this forgiveness application, or by December 31st, whichever is earlier, did you bring them back? If you brought them back, that's another safe harbor. You get to skip the FTE calculations. You just say, yes, I brought them all back. And you enter a 1.0 as your FTE reduction quotient, right? That's what all of this FTE stuff is getting to, is trying to help you calculate your penalty by figuring your FTE reduction quotient. That is to say, what percentage did your FTE count drop? Well, if you brought them all back by the time you file, then you get to put in a 1.0. You had no drop. You had 100% of your people back. But even if you did not do that, the final and third question is, were you unable to do all those things because of following CDC directives, right? Because the law told you you had to shut down at some point. So you were unable to operate at the same level of business activity due to following the regulations as promoted by CDC or OSHA or your local state government. Okay, if you answered yes to that, you were a restaurant or a daycare or someone else who was unable to operate because you were following the law, then again, you can skip the FTE calculations and put the 1.0 in for your quotient and just go right on down the line here. So you'll complete the calculations on the long form. You're still on the long form, but you get to skip all that FTE stuff, and therefore you don't have a penalty. So you can see with this that there are lots of opportunities where you would have to fill out the long form and still end up with no penalties. So I don't know why they make you do that. That seems kind of redundant to me, but by following the safe harbors, you're definitely going to save some time, you're definitely going to save some penalties, you're going to make life easier on yourself. So I hope you'll read those safe harbors in the documentation really carefully, and thanks for listening.